Hey, welcome to Sprint Final. So you're wanting to do a breakaway, but you're not exactly sure how to or when to, or is this the right map for that? There's a lot of factors that go into doing a successful breakaway. I do breakaways a lot. They work more times than you would think. And even if they don't work, they could still get you into a good position if you know when to back off or when to just go full steam ahead and see what happens. It's all based on your shuffle, the cards that you currently have, how many downhills there are. So we'll get into all of that. But first, I wanted to get into a particular game that I think would really help explain this entire breakaway strategy. This is one of the craziest breakaways that I've ever done successfully, and it was on a relatively flat course, which is unusual. I honestly would not suggest trying this on this course because this breakaways, they always take some amount of luck, but this was like next level amazing card pulling. But I was able to anticipate that those card pulls were going to happen based on the cards that I was getting. So it wasn't just dumb luck. I would have backed off if I was seeing that my cards were not, were clumping up like my big cards were clumping up together. But anyways, we'll get into all of that. First off, we need to really look at the course and assess, is this a course that we think is likely that a breakaway could maybe be successful? To be honest, this course, no, it doesn't feel that way if you're just doing a solo breakaway. You would definitely need two people, your teammate, like your sprinter. Normally the wheeler is the one who is able to do a successful breakaway, but the sprinter can too. I mean, that's not out of the question, but it has to be a very specific course that has a lot of small uphills and a lot of small downhills that allow you to be just like this one right here. This is a small uphill and a small downhill. If this had several of those, you could kind of pump track. I call those pump tracks. You can kind of pump your way down the hills and use a lot of your exhaustion in your twos, and that's how you can kind of do a successful breakaway with the sprinter. But with the wheeler, you have a lot more leeway because he has so many 5s, 6s, and 7s. I mean, he's got 9 combined, and that's a lot. I call those max cards, 5s, 6s, and 7s, and mid cards I call 4, 3, and 2. If you have a lot of max cards, there's a good chance that you can break away if you don't take a massive amount of exhaustion. But in this game, I'm green, and I was like, you know what? I think that the most important thing for me, if I want to give myself some options, is to get into the front of this race, which I don't always suggest doing on flat courses. On flat courses, it's a lot smarter to play in the back, but this one does have some downhills that I can ride off of. So I did a 5 and I did a 9, and unfortunately I was wanting to play a 6 because, as you can see, we just drafted up the entire peloton up to my sprinter and my wheeler. What I was wanting was to play a 6, and if I had gotten to this point right here where my wheeler is, if I had gotten right here on my own, these guys, I had a feeling they weren't going to play high cards. So I was wanting a 6 or a 7. Unfortunately, I got a 5 and dragged everybody up with me. But hey, that's the risk that you take when you don't know which cards you're going to get. So I am still in a good position to get over this climb in hopefully first place. That was my entire plan. In fact, I'm so committed to landing on that top downhill up that climb that I actually take an exhaustion with both of my riders to make sure that I get over this climb. Again, is that the best thing to do in this situation? Probably not, but kind of the cards that I drew kind of lended me to do that. So anyways, we keep going. I got a 4. I really didn't want to have to play a 5 over this with my sprinter, and that's why I wanted to be closer to the bottom of this climb. I got a, what did I get? A 5 with my wheeler, and that allowed me to draft my sprinter, which it didn't really matter that much in that instance because I don't think that my sprinter is going to win this game. I honestly wanted my wheeler to be behind and my sprinter to be ahead. But if I can just blow through this and make it to this point right here, I was thinking, well, how far back would these guys be? Would these two wheelers be? Because honestly, it's probably a wheeler that's going to win this game. So I was thinking if I blew through these sections and got like a 9 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or a 7, I mean, I'm making it over this, and they're just making it over the top of this climb. So that was tempting. Unfortunately, I didn't draw my 9 with my sprinter, so I decided to just play it safe and just play 2s and use the downhills as is safe. So I've taken 3 exhaustion so far. Everybody back here has taken 0. I think I'm the only person who has taken exhaustion. So I played a 5 to make sure that I got over the top of this little rise to pump myself down and be able to use a low card, hopefully. With my sprinter, I could have played right here onto right behind my wheeler, but I wanted to try and back up the peloton. I have a feeling my sprinter is not going to win this game, and so I wanted to cause as much havoc behind me as I possibly could, and so that's what I did. I played a low card, I played a 3, and that piled up a lot of people to lose a movement and keep them back from my wheeler. You really want to try and combine your movements to help one person potentially break away and everybody else behind kind of be getting blocked so that you can stay away. At this point, I've decided, well, I'm not necessarily committed to doing a breakaway, but I have taken 4 exhaustion at this point, and that is concerning. So I'm like, look, I'm gonna play it safe. I'm not gonna try and like play a 7 off of this thing. If the stars align and I end up being like, look, I think my best option is to do a breakaway, I'm gonna play a low card on this because I'm gonna need every 5 and 6 and 7 that I've got left in my deck. So I fortunately got a 3. And was able to play that down the hill, and luckily the blue wheeler decided that it was important to land on this downhill square, the first downhill square with me, and so this orange wheeler back here got blocked because these 2 guys, one of them got blocked, and then this wheeler got blocked as well. So I was landing with my sprinter intentionally on this point right here because I knew that if this red wheeler went up 1 instead of right here, I would be able to draft and I would still be on this blue square, and these guys who are stuck back here wouldn't draft up with us. But also it was a clever thing to do because I was hoping that if somebody landed next to me, these guys would get blocked and not be able to be on this blue downhill square. All of this worked out really well because that's exactly how it played out. But it also helped because with my breakaway that I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to go hardcore with, am I going to commit or am I going to play a low card? Because I could still play a low card. I mean, I have 5 exhaustion. That's not the end of the world. So I can definitely reel this back if I need to. But what I realize here in this position, and this is something that you need to think about too, is that you need to think about currently how many max cards do you have? And if you played all those max cards, 5, 6, 7s, and 9s, or with my green wheeler here, 5, 6, and 7, can I play all of those sequentially and make it to the finish line? That is a very critical point to get to in Sprint Final, because if you can get to that point faster than other people because there's, say, a little roadblock, a little bump that they can't sprint ahead and catch up with you, and then you can forever have a gap on them if you play those max cards sequentially. Can you stay away to the finish line? And the answer in this scenario right here was actually yes, I could. I had played my small cards on this downhill and this downhill. So yes, I do have a lot of exhaustion, but if all the stars aligned, and I'm still not committed to this move yet, if all of the stars aligned, I technically would be able to play a 7, a 7, a 7, a 6, a 6, and the 6 would end up right here. And then I would be able to play a mid card, a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and get across the finish line. And I wouldn't suggest always relying on those mid cards, but for the end of the course, for the finish line. But because there's this little rise right here, this is the critical point that is making me think I actually might go for this with my wheeler, because I can play, say, 2 mid cards. I could play a 4 and a 4 over this, and a sprinter or a wheeler would not be able to play a 7 and a 7 and just blast past me. They would have to slow down right here. So once I saw this and I assessed that, hey, wait a minute, this actually, that little rise gets me a little bit more leeway, I was like, well, look, I'm going to see what I draw next. Because if I know I've got a lot of big cards, and if I get on this hand, this 4-card hand that I'm about to draw, I just shuffled, so I have a brand new set of cards. And this is something that you need to pay attention to, is your shuffle. What part in the shuffle are you at? Are you about to just reshuffle all of this exhaustion? Like my wheeler has 5 exhaustion. Am I about to reshuffle all of this exhaustion into my deck? Or can I take a lot of exhaustion before I have to reshuffle? Well, at this point in the game, I had just shuffled. So the next draw of 4 cards that I'm about to take is going to determine if I think that my breakaway can be successful or not. And luckily, when I drew my cards right here, I got an exhaustion, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 7. So that meant, well, if I got a 7, a 7, a 6, and a 3, say, I didn't see any of my exhaustion in that hand, and all of my big cards just got clumped together. So there's very little chance that I'm going to draw the sequential 7, 7, 6, 6 that I need. And if I don't do that, I'm gonna lose. So when I saw that I got that seemingly perfect hand of 2, 3, 4, 7, I was like, shoot, I'm just gonna go for it. Let's go for it, and let's play a 7 and see what happens next, because there is a good chance now that I'm gonna see a 7 in the next hand, and at least a 6 or a 7 in the next hand. So that's what I did. I just went all out for it, and my sprinter, I'm just gonna play a lower card and just hang with these guys and see if maybe later I can catch up with my wheeler and help him out with maybe giving him less exhaustion or whatever. So the next move, I got a 7. I actually got the exact same hand. I got a 2, 3, 4, and a 7. So this is perfect. I'm seeing exhaustion. I'm taking exhaustion literally every turn, but it's not being reshuffled into my deck yet. I have just one more hand, and then I'm going to reshuffle. So I've got a really good feeling that I'm going to pull another 7 or a 6 at least, and sure enough, I pull a 6. I am booking it down this faster than I could have ever hoped for. I mean, this is just going absolutely perfectly. But the problem right here is that I'm about to reshuffle. I know that, well, I just had three hands, and on my 4th hand, I was going to have to reshuffle. And so all of that exhaustion that I had taken, I think 8 at this point, was going to be reshuffled into my deck. And the chances now of me seeing my other 7 or 6 is a lot lower, but I mean, there's still a chance. There's still a chance, because I played some low cards, and let's see what happens. I didn't get it. I got a 4. And so I played a low card with my sprinter. I played a 4 to make sure that I didn't drag this guy up with me, these wheelers, because I really do not want them to get up with my wheeler, because if they do, it's game over. They don't have much exhaustion. They have way less than me, that's for sure. So I really didn't think, this is something to think about as well. Look at these guys back here. They're just keep drafting and keep drafting, but the course is going to end. They could save their 9s, their 5s, their 6s as long as they want, but the game is going to end, and my wheeler, he has less than these guys, sure, but like I've said before on this channel, the game's gonna end. You need to play your cards. If you don't play your cards, that you have 0. You have like a 7 goes to a 0. It doesn't matter. It doesn't exist. You didn't use it. My wheeler is committed to using every single high card that I see. Meanwhile, these guys back here could be playing some games. It's like, well, I don't want to take exhaustion. Is this the right time to be in the front? How do I time that? All that, when you're in a breakaway, it just goes out the window. You have one mission, and it's to play every high card that you have and to try and stay away. That's all that you have. So you are on a one-track, you have a one-track mind, And they've got all sorts of things they're thinking about. This blue wheeler's like, oh shoot, I've taken a bunch of exhaustion trying to chase this guy down. So the next move was very critical for me. I really needed to get to this square right here, or this square, because I needed to get 1, 2, 3, at least a 3, to be able to make it over the top of this, to be able to play, hopefully, a hide card like a 7 or a 6 to cross the finish line. And luckily, I got a 6. I mean, it's just crazy luck that I'm having right here. The blue wheeler plays a 5. He has taken some exhaustion. I actually play a 9 to join my wheeler, which may or may not have been a good decision. It's not necessarily the best decision to drag people up to your breakaway, but I was thinking, well, I want to pile up this group of people by maybe stopping my sprinter right here, and as these guys can go 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe one of them would get blocked back on the hill and they couldn't play their 7 that I know that they have all the way and beat my wheeler himself. That, or I wanted to make it so that they couldn't draft up to my wheeler, just taking up space and allowing it so that there isn't a gap between my wheeler and one of these wheelers so that they can draft up and gain a movement. That was my thought. I wanted him to play a supporting role, so I wanted him to be as close as possible. I'm not thinking that my sprinter is going to win this game. Unfortunately, these two wheelers are able to make it to the top of this climb in just one turn, and there goes my buffer. I really wanted my wheeler to be able to get up to the top of this hill alone for at least one turn to give myself a chance, but it looks like that's not going to happen. So then I was left with a very interesting decision, because I drew my hand for my wheeler and I got my last 7, one of my 4s, and 2 2s. I know that after this turn, I'm about to reshuffle, so if I chose not to play my 7 this turn, there is a chance that the next turn I would draw 7, and if I did draw that 7 after playing a 4, I guarantee win the game. But the chances of drawing that 7 after I'm about to reshuffle all of this insane exhaustion that I've gotten, 10 exhaustion, I've been ahead of this race for the entire game except for one turn. So the chances of me drawing that 7 are very, very low. So I was thinking, well, I know I have 2 4s in my deck. So what are the chances that if I play a 7, that I then draw a 4 out of this huge deck of exhaustion? Well, because I have 2 4s, the chances of that is actually higher than just drawing a 7 as a Hail Mary move. If I did play a 7 this turn and got to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is not a guaranteed win if I play my 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because it gets very complicated. Because say my sprinter goes only 2, 1, 2. Well, if my wheeler is right here at the finish line, and this orange sprinter guaranteed has a 5, and these 2 wheelers guaranteed are going to play a 5, well, they're going to, if they land here and here, they're going to draft up because of this empty space. And in that case, if I played even if I played my 4, these wheelers, who are very likely to play a 7, will pass me by 1 movement. The only way I would have a guaranteed win if I played a 7 and then played a 4 would be if my sprinter played a 5 and landed in that gap so that these guys could not draft up. And I thought that was likely because my sprinter didn't take that much exhaustion and he did have a 5 left. So I went ahead and I played my 7 and moved up to right to the finish line, and my sprinter got his 5. Everybody else played a 5, landed where they were going to land, and they did not draft up. Now, the only question is, will my roller get a 4? If he gets a 4, it is a guaranteed win. You can see if I get a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I land right here. If these guys get a 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we land on the same square, but I would win because I am in the right lane. That was the key. I knew that the orange sprinter had no more 9s, he only had a 5, so I was not worried about him. And because this sprinter took this space and made it so that these wheelers could not draft up, it actually gave me more of a chance to win, because if I happen to draw a 3, which I have 2 of them still, they would have to draw a 7 to cross the finish line ahead of me, because if they drew a 6 and I drew a 3, 1, 2, 3, if they drew a 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I would still win because I am in the right lane. So they have to get a 7. I know that this wheeler has a variety of different cards, but he only has 1 7. And this wheeler, this red wheeler, is the one that I'm worried about because he has 3 exhaustion, a 6, and a 7. I am banking on this blue wheeler not drawing a 7, and that by the grace of God, this red wheeler draws 3 2s and a 6. If I were to draw a 3, we would tie on the same square, but I would win being in the right lane. So I move. I did not get my 4. I got a 3. And here's the moment of truth. The blue wheeler gets a 5, and the red wheeler gets a 6. He draws the 3 exhaustion that he had and draws the final 6. And he does not win. I am in the right lane. In fact, because my sprinter blocked this lane and these 2 people blocked this lane, the red wheeler only went 4 movements. So my wheeler and my sprinter end up in first and second place in a map where I took exhaustion literally every single turn but 1 turn. Unbelievable. And I'm trying to I know that that was complicated what I was trying to explain up here, but had I not done all of that mental math of what cards do my opponents have, what card does my sprinter have that could work with my wheeler in this situation coming up this last climb, if I had not done that mental math, I would have lost this game, period. There was a lot of luck involved, yes, in what cards I was going to draw coming up here, but you can help that luck by giving yourself better chances to have that luck. If you don't do that and you just haphazardly play your cards, you're not helping yourself to potentially have better luck. So in this breakaway that I had, I started it basically right here at this moment, right here. I was thinking, well, what cards, how often am I going to shuffle? What cards am I seeing on that first, after the reshuffle on my first hand? What cards am I looking at? Because if I'm looking at 2 6s, a 7, and a 2, I'm going to play the 2. I'm statistically not going to see sequentially a 6, a 7, a 7, because they all got clumped up in one hand right at the start, so I would have slowed down. But I decided, well, once I saw that my cards were going to be spread out more, I decided to just go for it, and I just kept having good luck in creating your own good luck by playing smart with your teammate, with your sprinter, or with your wheeler, whichever one you're trying to use as a supporting asset. At the end of the day, it just comes down to the hand that you draw, especially at the end of the game. There's a lot of exhaustion. There's a lot of factors that can change what happens at the end of a race. So I love breakaways. I do them very often. It is hard to win breakaways, to be honest, on it when it's more of a flat stage, and especially when you're playing with 4 players. It's literally almost impossible. But if you have a few obstacles thrown in there, even if it is a bit of a flatter stage, and there are some obstacles, especially if there is a slight uphill, just like this, if there's a slight uphill at the end, if this wasn't here, there's no chance that my wheeler would have won this game. No chance. That gave me the buffer that I needed. You need to assess the map, and you'll just find yourself, wow, at the end of the game, I at least have maybe a 1 in 7 shot of winning this game. Whereas people who are in the very back, who have like a 9 left and 2 5s, they have a 0% chance of winning the game because they are in a worse position than you. And that's why I love them so much. If you're playing a 2-player game, the chances of your breakaway being successful are infinitely higher. But yeah, so try these breakaways, try a breakaway, and just think about what I was talking about. Hit those key spots, look at your cards, think about when you're gonna reshuffle. How many turns do you have left? How many reshuffles do you potentially have? How many exhaustion do you have? Consider all of that. And I really think that your next breakaway could be more successful than it has been in the past. I will see you guys soon. I'm going to keep making these videos, even if we have like 7 subscribers. See you guys. Bye.